Okay, so to complete this side of the basement, we have one more soffit to build. If you look up here in this corner, we've got one more nasty thing in the corner here that we just can't drywall around, so we're going to have to put it in a soffit. Now, what I like to do, instead of just building a little box in the corner to hide that one little thing, which kind of looks conspicuous, you know, wow, there's a box in the corner, that means they must be hiding something. Instead of making it look like that, what I'll do is I'll come all the way over to my other soffit here, and I'll put a soffit ladder the whole way across right in front of that piece of flex ductwork there. Okay, so what will happen is this soffit over here will come around and flow right across and right into this wall and kind of make an L shape in here. Okay, even though we don't need it over in this area because there's nothing in our way, we'll have to hide that. The L shape really looks good. We do have some stuff up here. We got the line set up here that would have been in the way anyway. So we'll kill two birds with one stone. We'll build one soffit ladder from here, from this soffit ladder, right across to this outside wall, right in front of that piece of ductwork there, and that'll hide that away. And then what we'll have left in this room here is what, one big flat ceiling. As you can see, there's nothing else in the way. We've already got our central air conditioning and heating ducted in between the floor joists, and our drywall will go right to the bottom of the floor joist. So we'll finish that little bit of soffit, and that will conclude the section on building soffits in this video series. There's really nothing else to learn. If you got something in your road overhead and you can't put your drywall right to the floor joist, you're going to have to build soffits to hide it. So let's get cracking on this last little piece of soffit here to finish this project. Here it's the only thing in the ceiling, well, all that in the line set over here is below the floor joist. The rest of the ceiling's good the whole way from here clear down to the other end of the room. There's nothing in the way. So what we're going to do now is square up our soffit. So I'm going to come off the outside wall. What I do is I find the next joist past the problem area, which would be this one here, and I will run my soffit right out to the middle of that joist, okay? I'm going to get a measurement off the outside wall, and I've got 34.5 to the middle of that joist. 34.5. So I'm going to come down the other end here. Right in the middle of that joist. And then I'm going to snap a chalk line down that joist. Snap that line. Alright. And we're going to set to that line on that side. And that'll be our soffit coming down, which will form the L-shaped soffit, which will finish this room out. Alright, let me get my end first. Alright, so we're going to shoot it right down that line. Okay, take it that way a little bit. Keep going. Right there. Okay. And let me come on down to your ladder. Okay. Now what we want to do is make sure that this ladder is even with the bottom of our first soffit, okay? So that everything comes down and around and across at the same level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 6-foot level on the bottom there. Okay, you're always using your levels on these soffits. Alright, let's see how that looks. That looks pretty good there. We're using these bubbles here. We want to make sure that our bubbles between the lines, and that looks good. And we're right even with the other soffit. Alright, so that's the position of this ladder. Now what we need to do is make sure that we're not out of plumb here. So we're going to use our 2-foot level on each end of this ladder, just like we did on the big ladders in the first part of the soffit series here. Put it on the side and make sure that we're straight up and down. Right there. And then we'll go up the other end and do the same thing. Looks pretty good. Now, notice I lucked out and had a 2x4 right here to shoot that in if I didn't have a 2x4 there, I'd have had to put a block of wood between here so that I could level this up. So, you know, if you don't have a 2x4 exactly where the edge of your ladder is, so you can't plumb, put a block of wood between two studs and shoot into that. Alright, so now the next and final stage of this is we're going to take our levels and we're going to level the whole way around this area here so that we can cross over. We're going to take our 6-foot level and level off the bottom. Make a little mark in the corner over here. Go down the other end of my soffit, do the same thing. In this case here, we'll be even with the other soffit. We'll come right off the bottom of there. And now what we do is take our chalk box and snap that line. There we go. Good? Yep. Snap a line, and then we'll be setting our 2x4s up here, above the line. So we'll shoot a piece of 2x4 down there, and then we'll cross over every 2 foot to complete this soffit. I'm going to show you how to build the soffits one more time on a new job that we just started with the basement remodeling company so that you can burn this into your brains, alright? Because so much of what you see overhead is going to be inside these soffits. So just like the other job, I found the lowest point, the lowest plane in the bottom of the soffit, which is the beam. The beam is protruding down from the floor joist the most, alright? It's not the ductwork, because the beam is coming down about another 1.5 inches. So the bottom of the beam is the lowest point that we got to get under. So what we do is we take that point and we measure it up under the floor joist, and we're getting 9 1/4. Okay, you can see the tape's coming in 9 1/4. So now you got to do the math. Figure out what to cut your pieces. So you come over here and you got 9 1/4. And then you add 1.5 inches. Okay, that gives you 10 3/4. All right, that's overall to the bottom of your soffit framing, and then you subtract 3 inches for the top and bottom plate, and you end up with 7 3/4. That never ever changes. All right. Lowest point, 9 1/4 plus 1.5 inches. That gives you 10 3/4. Then you subtract 3 inches from the overall, and you'll come up with 7 3/4. And what that gives you, look down here on the floor, it gives you the blocks of wood that you're going to be cutting in your soffit ladders. These are 7 3/4. All right. And the reason we subtracted 3 inches is because when we between the plates, when we build the soffit, we're adding a top and a bottom plate, each 1.5 inches, which makes 3 inches. So we have to subtract out the plates. What's left is our cat in the middle. So we cut all of our cats. And by the way, when I lay out my soffit ladders, I'm not going 16 inches on center. We're going every 2 foot on the ladder rungs, okay? Every 2 foot. So what we're going to do now is lay them out. John's going down here and he's laying them out every 2 foot. And we're going to nail all the blocks of wood in between our top and bottom plate, and then we're going to shoot up our soffit ladders. Once we shoot up the soffit ladders on both sides of the ductwork, we're going to be putting one ladder on this side of the ductwork, and over here, on the other side of the ductwork, we're going to be putting the other ladder. Okay, so there's going to be a ladder on both sides, sandwiching all the ductwork in the beam, and then we're going to cross underneath the bottom. We'll measure in between the 2 ladders and we'll cut our cross under pieces. So let me get these made here, and we'll be back with you in just a minute. Okay guys, pan up here. Chris is showing what we put up here. Here are those 2 10 3/4 inch soffit ladders, 10 3/4. And the reason it's 10 3/4 is when we cross underneath the ladder on the other side, our 2x4 is going to go right underneath this beam. That was 9 1/4, okay? So all we have to do now is measure between the 2 ladders, which we've leveled. We put blocks on each end and we leveled the ends. Now all we have to do is measure in between and cut our crossover pieces from end to end every 2 foot. And this soffit will be complete. All the ductwork and the beam and everything that's up inside between the 2 ladders will be hidden away in the drywall soffit. All right? Now we got a couple couple more little pieces that we're putting in down here. We got another soffit right here. We had to go underneath this ductwork. We've already cut another ladder. And we're going to be sliding this up in here, like so. And that's going to hide this ductwork here. Okay, so any place that we have something overhead that we're trying to go under, we're going to put it inside a soffit ladder like that. Okay, and then all you do then is cross underneath your ductwork or your beam or whatever you're trying to hide with your cross under pieces. And there you have it. The drywallers then can come in and put their drywall on and their corner bead and finish everything overhead in a nice drywall soffit.